And we are live. Welcome back to Takes by Fans. We got a great show for you today. As always, we are live every single day at noon Eastern. If you want to watch live, head over to twitch.tv/takesbyfans. If you want to watch but not live, head over to our YouTube channel, Takes by Fans. We post all of our shows and clips of the show there on a daily basis. And if you just want to listen, we are on podcasting apps, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. So however you want to watch or listen, we've got you covered multiple ways. Alrighty, today is a big old Tuesday. No preseason games to look forward to this week, but it's all gonna be worth it when we're watching regular season football in 2 weeks. So to get us prepared for that, we got to kind of see what our narratives, what we wanted to see in what our narratives were in training camp that we wrote down right before training camp started, right before all the preseason action started. So we're going to kind of revisit those for the next couple of days. Maybe it only takes one day. We'll see how much we can fit into a show, but we're going to be revisiting our narratives that we set for every single team before training camp started, revisit them, see if we saw what we wanted to see, didn't see what we wanted to see, that we wanted to see, that we expected to see. So we'll just talk it all through and see what the teams were looking like now that training camp is basically over. We know who the starters are and all that heading into week one. So we will break that down today on the show, but let's just jump right into it with the stories of the day. And man, oh man, the first one up. Jeez, who saw this coming? Jeez, we know this man, we didn't think this man should be the starter, but we didn't think he was going to get goddamn cut out of here. Jeez, so here we go. Patriots have released quarterback Cam Newton. Wow, it's setting social media on fire as we speak. Nobody saw this coming. We didn't see this coming. Yesterday when we kind of talked about Cam Newton and Mac Jones on the show when we were breaking down the Patriots' final preseason game, we didn't like what we saw from Cam Newton. And we said it was lackadaisical. We thought it was, no urgency. We never saw any urgency from Cam Newton. And at the end of preseason game number 3, we said that Mac Jones should be the starter here for the Patriots. And now look at this. They get rid of Cam Newton. No backup spot. They're just going with Mac Jones and Cam Newton. You can go wherever you want because they released him. They didn't trade him, anything like that. So Cam Newton is free to go and sign with whatever team that will have him. I mean, now we have to just talk about Cam Newton. Where can Cam Newton go? Can Cam Newton even go anywhere? I don't think so. We could take a look, but I would really kind of say that Cam Newton is done. I don't know a team that can just sign him and they'll be better than what they are right now. We can kind of take a look at in a second of, is Cam Newton an upgrade or just kind of a downgrade for the current roster at the quarterback position for every single team? Can Cam Newton make a team better? I don't know, folks. I think he's got to be, unfortunately, done in this league. I don't know if he still has what it takes to be a consistent winner, a consistent good quarterback in this league. I mean, folks, when we talk about Cam Newton, it's 10 years in the league. It's real good. So I'm not disrespecting Cam Newton, but I do think his time in the league as a starter has to unfortunately be over. I mean, that stint with the New England Patriots, it just really didn't look that good. They didn't really win that many games. They went 7-8 with Cam Newton last season. And once again, just those 8 passing touchdowns, that leaves a real bad taste in our mouth. And yes, we get it. He's a dual threat quarterback, but still at the same time, just being a rushing quarterback does not get it done in this league. A la the Patriots win 7 games last season. So Cam Newton had a great career, been to a Super Bowl, won MVP, folks. He had that kind of good 4-year stretch that we kind of say all the time. It's hard to have one 4-year stretch where you're at the top of your game for 4 straight years. And it's even harder to do it multiple times. There's not that many kind of great players that have had multiple great 4-year stretches right here. So Cam Newton had a real great, successful career in the NFL. I just think his time is done. He was great in his prime. His dual threat ability, he was the best dual threat quarterback at the time. He's the kind of highest standing dual threat quarterback in the league. I mean, no dual threat quarterback has lasted 10 years at kind of a high peak. I mean, RG3 gets injured. Who else we got? Patrick Mahomes is probably going to be, the new Cam Newton. I don't see him really dropping off. Russell Wilson, I guess, hasn't dropped off or gotten injured or anything like that. But Cam Newton was kind of like the OG to kind of do it when we were kind of emerging of these dual threat quarterbacks. I'm blanking. Why am I can only go to RG3. There's another one. RG3. Is there another one? I thought there was another kind of dual threat quarterback that unfortunately got injured real early on in his career that he couldn't really go. Damn. Okay, maybe just RG3 then. But Cam Newton, he had a great, successful 4 years, MVP, Super Bowl. I just don't know if I take a chance on Cam Newton on another team. If I'm a head coach, honestly, I don't sign this man. I don't know. I think I go with some of these other younger quarterbacks. We got Gardner Minshew still floating around for next season. Potential Drew Lock. I think I kind of take them over Cam Newton. Honestly, I take Gardner Minshew over Cam Newton 100%. Drew Lock, maybe not so quite sold on that just quite yet. But let's go through these teams right here and just see where can Cam Newton go. Obviously, he's not going to be a starter anywhere this season. Maybe the Texans, but what do you do there? I mean, I would probably say that's maybe the only available spot, but then Tyrod Taylor gets shafted again right before the start of the season. I mean, he's going to play week 2. He gets his lung punctured by the team doctor last season, and then this season gearing up for a starting role because no Deshaun Watson, and then last second Cam Newton's available, and the Texans get him and start him, so I'd feel kind of bad for Tyrod Taylor, shafted these last 2 seasons. But let's see if we can kind of see a fit for Cam Newton, not this season, but maybe next season. So let's see what we get here. The Seahawks, there's no way that you go Cam Newton over Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is 1,000% better than Cam Newton, 100%, 1,000% better. The Rams, they got Matthew Stafford, and I would take Matthew Stafford over Cam Newton. Cardinals, they got Kyler Murray, who is better than Cam Newton. And the 49ers, they got Jimmy G and Trey Lance, and I take both of those quarterbacks over Cam Newton. Sorry. Saints, Jameis Winston. I take Jameis Winston over Cam Newton. Taysom Hill. I think I take Taysom Hill over Cam Newton too. So the Saints are good at quarterback. The Bucks, they got Tom Brady, but I don't think Cam Newton wants to follow into Tom Brady's footsteps again. I mean, those are big footprints to fill. I mean, he felt it in New England, and he would go to the Bucks after Tom Brady leaves. I don't really see that happening. The Carolina Panthers, obviously he came from there. I don't think he goes back there, but maybe he can because Sam Darnold, I'm not sold on Sam Darnold. I may take Cam Newton over Sam Darnold, honestly. And maybe Matt Rule thinks the same because he's trying to get Deshaun Watson, according to all these kind of trade rumors and reports surrounding Deshaun Watson and that whole thing. But maybe he could go back to Carolina, honestly. I'm not giving Sam Darnold like the keys to the starting job forever. I mean, if he doesn't show out the season, I move on. And maybe Cam Newton, a little reunion with Matt Rule. I don't know. Maybe that could work out. So watch out for the Panthers next year, a reunion. How great would that be? The Atlanta Falcons, this is a possibility. Not this year. They're going to still stick with Matt Ryan, but Arthur Smith now, the new head coach. If Matt Ryan doesn't kind of, look good, maybe they just kind of rebuild the offense slightly at quarterback. I don't see any reason why the Falcons would go with Cam Newton next season, though, instead of just kind of maybe drafting a quarterback or getting somebody else like a Gardner Minshew. So potential with the Falcons there, small potential, but maybe. Washington football team, they seem, adamant about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I do think I take Cam Newton over Ryan Fitzpatrick. I do think I do that. But I don't think Ron Rivera is going to do that this season. But maybe teaming back up with Ron Rivera in Carolina. Now, what's interesting is that Ron Rivera had an opportunity to get Cam, I believe, last season before he joined the Patriots at the last second. But Ron Rivera didn't take that opportunity. Just to even have him on the team, bring him in because he was kind of getting no calls. That Patriots team was like the only team that called him kind of real last second, real late last year. So there was no real big market for Cam Newton going into last season before he went with the Patriots. So now it's even going to be even harder for Cam Newton to get on a team because he's now going to be possibly a year removed from football. And we see how that plays out. Not too well if you're a year removed. Jamar Chase, he can't even catch a ball now because he was a year removed from football. So, potential with Washington maybe, but if Ron Rivera didn't sweep him up the first time, I don't know if he's going to do it the second. The Giants, well, I'm taking Daniel Jones over Cam Newton right now. We'll see what happens at the end of this season, though. Maybe we change our mind. Not 100% sold on Daniel Jones just quite yet. We do believe he's going to have a good season, but he's not going to be a New York Giant this season. Come next season, we'll see what Daniel Jones is looking like, and if he kind of gets his fourth and maybe potential final year to kind of see what he's made out of. The Dallas Cowboys, this has kind of been floating around early already today. Obviously not being better than Dak. I'm taking Dak over Cam Newton, but just a backup role and maybe just some kind of gadget plays like we're kind of seeing with Taysom Hill with the Saints last season at the tight end position or the last couple of seasons, and maybe kind of like a mini version of what Kyle Shanahan just ran in his last preseason game of Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, multiple plays for multiple players in the same series. So maybe you give Cam Newton a couple of plays here. He can maybe run the read option with Zeke Elliott. That could be interesting for some just kind of gadget style plays. So being a backup for the Cowboys wouldn't be bad. And let me get this, let me say this. Cam Newton would be the best backup quarterback in the league. Maybe not the best, but very, very high. I'd put him top 3, definitely. You can make the argument for number 1, and I don't think I would disagree with that. But, yeah, he would definitely be one of the best backups out here. So, I'm not knocking Cam Newton 100%. We were knocking him good percentage. But, yeah, he can go anywhere and be a backup, no problem. But it's real interesting that the Patriots aren't keeping him as a backup. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. All right. The Eagles, well, they're just bringing in every quarterback, so they might as well sign Cam Newton. They got, Joe Flacco and they got Gardner Minshew. So yeah, why not just have Cam Newton and Nick Sirianni? I don't know what he's trying to do over there, but he's trying to collect them all. This is not Pokemon. You don't have to go out and get every single player. You rock with one starting quarterback. Now we got quarterback competition here in the Eagles, and the preseason's already over. Who does that? So, yeah, go to the Eagles. They're welcoming all quarterbacks over there for some reason. The Green Bay Packers, they're rocking with Aaron Rodgers. They got Jordan Love in the wings. Don't see him going there. The Bears, maybe Matt Nagy's like, shit, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. We think Justin Fields is going to work out, but if he doesn't, maybe Matt Nagy's, so lost for answers he signs Cam Newton. We don't think that happens, though. The Vikings, yeah, why not? I mean, I think Kirk Cousins, I'm not the biggest believer in Kirk Cousins. He has some stats, but they don't result into wins. So maybe, Kirk Cousins is kind of on the hot seat here in Minnesota. If he's not getting it done, they have to move off of him next season. Maybe Cam Newton and Minnesota with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook, that could be a real good offense. So that's honestly, I would maybe not hate seeing that. Cam Newton in the purple next season, that could be something interesting. I think that's the most intriguing thing that we've said all day of everywhere that he could potentially go so far. So watch out for the Vikings, folks. The Detroit Lions, I wouldn't even want him to go there. I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy to go and play in Detroit under Dan Campbell. So stay away from there. That's not even an option for Cam Newton. Tennessee Titans, they got Ryan Tannehill. Don't see them moving off of him anytime soon. The Colts, they got Carson Wentz. Don't really see them moving off of him anytime soon. Unless he gets injured, then yeah, they probably do have an open spot there in Indianapolis. Now the Houston Texans. Now, yeah, that's kind of what's been floating around here early today as that news broke as well. Tyrod Taylor, he's not, a surefire A1 tier 1 quarterback in this league, so it's easy to kind of bring in Cam Newton, who does kind of have a big resume, and just kind of be like, yeah, sorry, Tyrod, we're going to go with Cam Newton. So this is the only opportunity, this is the only spot where Cam Newton can play this season is the Houston Texans. I don't think it would be that hard to kind of just be like, all right, thanks, Tyrod Taylor, but no thanks. And especially because the media has talked zero about Tyrod Taylor. When was the last time you heard somebody even say the words Tyrod Taylor? And that's no disrespect to Tyrod Taylor. That's a little disrespect to the media, because why the hell aren't you talking about this guy that, still, I believe, has a little bit left in him that could potentially get it done? We really wanted to see what he could have done with that Chargers team last season. Luckily, we kind of got out with Justin Herbert, so that was kind of good. But if Cam Newton does want to play this season, it will probably only be with the Houston Texans. The Jags, they got their man, Trevor Lawrence. The Bills, they got Josh Allen. And the Dolphins have Tua. The Patriots, they didn't want him. And the Jets have Zach Wilson. The Steelers have Big Ben for 1 year, but maybe next year Cam Newton with the Steelers. Hey, now we're potentially talking. I don't want to see that because I don't believe in Cam Newton, but, that is an option because there is going to be a spot next season. So if he wants to play this season, it's going to be the Texans. But if he wants to play next season, the Steelers, that's a way open quarterback competition right there. And Cam Newton can easily beat out Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph and Joshua Dobbs, no problem. And we know kind of Big Ben is probably most likely going to hang it up at the end of the season. The Ravens with Lamar Jackson, you're not going to go there. Lamar Jackson's 1,000% better than Cam Newton. The Browns, I take Baker Mayfield over Cam Newton. Sorry, not sorry there. And the Bengals have Joe Burrow. The Chiefs, obviously Patrick Mahomes. The Raiders have Derek Carr, who's better than Cam Newton. The Chargers have Justin Herbert, who's already better than Cam Newton. And the Broncos have Teddy Bridgewater, who I think I take over Cam Newton. And Drew Lock is kind of a question mark. I'm not 100% sold that I do take Drew Lock over Cam Newton, but they got Teddy Bridgewater. So not a lot of good places for Cam Newton to go. If he's looking for a place this year, it's only going to be Houston, but next year I would definitely take a look at Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Try to revitalize your career there and try to get back into that Super Bowl game and try to win it this time. So there are still some options for Cam Newton out here. I wouldn't personally take a risk on this man anymore. I just don't like his approach. I don't think he puts any urgency in his game. We just saw that in preseason game number 3, and last season just real lackadaisical. Nothing really to show from what he did last season. We've kind of been going with this narrative that we're like 5% buying into Cam Newton, and now that he is officially not on a team anymore, I'm ready to sell him 100% now. I am selling Cam Newton 100%. We do not have any more stock, any more percent buyability into Cam Newton anymore. We are at 0%, folks. Absolutely done with Cam Newton. Will not buy this man again until he has a real great season where we can maybe potentially buy into him again. I just think he ran his course, and, this is not a bad thing. 10 years in the NFL is absolutely great, folks. This is an accomplishment. This is not a failure on Cam Newton's part. This is a real good career. Overall, great career. Well, I don't want to go great. I want to say really, really good career overall in the NFL. We're not knocking Cam Newton. Unfortunately, he ran his course. 10 years, folks. That's a real great number of years to play at a high level consistently as a starting quarterback in this league. We are giving credit to Cam Newton. I just think, unfortunately, his time is over. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes, folks. If you can make it past 4 years in the NFL, that's a success. If you can survive 10 years, that's an outlier, folks. Cam Newton is an outlier in this league. You have to give him credit. We are not knocking him. We just do think his time in the NFL has ran its course. So there is, if you're Cam Newton, a Cam Newton fan, Cam Newton believer, Cam Newton lover, whatever it is, there is still some hope that he can play next season. I just personally would not go for the man. So that's where we're at with Cam Newton, no longer with the Patriots, no longer starting, and we're going to get Mac Jones. And how about that, folks? We've kind of been tracking the odds for the Week 1 quarterbacks for these teams that do have quarterback competitions, and Mac Jones, he was plus 250 the entire way, then dropped down to plus 225 kind of, I think, at the end of preseason game number 1, and then it closed at plus 225. So there was great value to bet there on Mac Jones. I even think that we maybe even said it was a good solid value right there when we were talking about it. So that's some good money to be made. Plus 250, plus 225, whatever you locked it in at for Mac Jones to be the Week 1 starter. Real great solid bet right there. So all right, what else do we get here on Cam Newton? So Patriots sources told us this morning they decided not to trade Cam Newton out of respect so he can choose his team. They thought highly of him but wanted to go in a different direction. And that's kind of, the big green flag on Cam Newton. He does kind of say everything. He was kind of, praising Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels Daniels last season, he always says the right thing. Hey, I use my haters as motivation, as fuel. We just don't think it gets the job done. But he always says everything that has to be said that is correct. So we do give Cam Newton some credit there. I just think the talent level is just below where it needs to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And also, you can't really trade Cam Newton. He was on $1 million deal, like a $1 million kind of baseline minimum deal for Cam Newton. And like we said, the Patriots were really kind of the only team that really kind of show a little bit of interest in Cam Newton. And that was only because they literally had nothing good on their roster. I think they had like Brian Hoyer and Jason Stidham. Are y'all rocking with that going into last season? I'm not. I would definitely take Cam Newton over those two. So we'll see where Cam Newton goes. I don't think he goes anywhere, though. And then we got Cam Newton out here. We get his official response of what transpired. So let's read what Cam Newton said. And Cam Newton, I don't know what the hell this is. If you ever follow Cam Newton on like Instagram or social media or anything, he's got this weird ass font that he types in for some reason. Does anybody know why? Did he ever say why? It's nonsense, but he does it. If this is his brand, I get it, but I don't know if this is a good brand to have, a weird text on your phone. Okay. All right, but here we go. Cam Newton says, quote, "I really appreciate all the love and support during this time, but I must say, please don't feel sorry for me. # I'm good. One finger, one pinky, one thumb." So that's kind of the love. And so Cam Newton's obviously not taking it hard. Don't feel sorry for him. So don't come at me being like, oh, you're a Cam Newton hater. Oh, you just hate Cam Newton. No, you don't have to defend Cam Newton. He just says, don't feel sorry for me. You don't have to defend Cam Newton. He is good, folks. We are talking about professional superstar celebrity athletes. They will be fine. I can guarantee you that, folks. So relax. Stop kind of, defending Cam Newton. Be like, oh, if you talk bad about Cam Newton, you must be a Cam Newton hater. And how can you talk about Cam Newton like that? Blah, blah, blah. Folks, will y'all relax? We just said we're not disrespecting Cam Newton. He had a great 10-year stint in this league. That's fantastic. Barely, it's going to be a very, very small percent of players that played in the NFL that can say that they had 10 great years in the league at a starting position. It's an outlier, folks, so we give Cam Newton credit for that. All right. So that's Cam Newton, folks. Cut by the Patriots. Shocking. All right, but let's stay with this kind of Patriots topic because we got some more news on their team overall, and it's not very great. So here we go. This is a bigger this is kind of a bigger surprise to me than Cam Newton being cut. Here we go. Patriots are placing Pro Bowl cornerback Stephon Gilmore on the physically unable to perform list, which means he will miss at least the first 6 games. He's recovering from the quad surgery at the end of last season. So this is big, folks. We kind of were thinking, so there's a lot going on with Stephon Gilmore. So let's break it down. So he's kind of going into a contract year, also coming off that quad injury, that quad surgery. And then we kind of heard that Stephon Gilmore was, progressing very well in the offseason leading up to training camp. And then we heard that Stephon Gilmore was going to kind of sit back in training camp and not push it 100%, and we kind of thought, hey, well, he's holding out because he doesn't want to get injured, because he doesn't want to, risk the big deal. So he's not going to play in training camp, but he is going to be ready for week 1. But now here we are, going back on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. So he's going to miss the first 6 games, which is not good. Going on a contract year, missing a couple of games, wanting a big deal, thinking you're one of the best corners in the game, and you're going to miss the first 6 games. So not a real great sign here for either the Patriots or Stephon Gilmore. The Patriots, because, not having a great corner on your team is definitely going to hurt your defense, and not great for Stephon Gilmore because he's trying to get that big old deal. So, real shocking news. We thought Stephon Gilmore would be ready to go by week 1, in that he wasn't practicing just because he wanted a big deal and did not want to get injured in a meaningless preseason game or a meaningless kind of training camp session practice. But it's a little bit worse than that. And that kind of gives more credit to the Patriots of why why they weren't offering Stephon Gilmore a big deal, because they're like, hey, we know what the team doctors are saying, and they're kind of saying, hey, you're not ready or even close to be ready right now, so we're going to hold off on a big deal. So now it's just all making sense now that they officially put him on the PUP list. So we hope Stephon Gilmore has a speedy recovery here. We thought he was all good to go, but that is not the case any longer, and Stephon Gilmore will be missing the first 6 games at least, at minimum, of this season. So we'll see what happens, but could be potentially not great for Stephon Gilmore. We hope he can get back as quickly as possible. All right, but now some good news. All right, we had some 2 bad news on the Patriots situations, but let's get to the good news. Let's talk about N'Keal Harry. And once again, kind of remember we talked about him at the beginning of training camp where his agent requested a trade publicly, and N'Keal Harry was like, yeah, that was kind of him. That really wasn't my words, but it was just the agent overall asking for a trade, and N'Keal Harry's agent wanted the trade because N'Keal Harry thought he wasn't kind of getting the respect and the reps that he kind of deserved to be a better player. But he's been kind of coming along here in training camp and in the preseason games, and now the Patriots announced that N'Keal Harry will make the final 53-man roster. So well done for N'Keal Harry, fighting for a spot right here, kind of back against the wall going into this offseason, this training camp session, and he made the most out of it and got it done. Let's quickly go over, because we do have all the stats here of the preseason, for all the preseason. So let's see where N'Keal Harry kind of ranked in preseason. Hang on. Just click there. Okay. So let's go to the preseason stats to kind of see what N'Keal Harry did overall. So let's see what we get here. Can we find N'Keal Harry very, very quickly? Let's go to receiving stats, and let's see where N'Keal Harry kind of ranked overall between all the other kind of pass catchers. Alrighty, so here we go. We had, and this does go in order, so the longer we kind of scroll down the list, so let's just kind of say we got Malik Taylor, the Green Bay wide receiver, the most receiving yards by a wide receiver or by a pass catcher in preseason with 185 yards. And how many touchdowns did he have? 0 touchdowns. But he led the preseason in receiving yards, Malik Taylor, wide receiver for Green Bay. So that's just kind of the top bar. Now that we have that kind of established, let's see where N'Keal Harry kind of favored in here. And, you know, he may not have played all the games, and now that I see Simi Fehoko right here, he had 77 yards and 0 touchdowns, so not bad overall. But yeah, back to what we were saying, you know, some players played all snaps in 3 games or only played a couple, so, you know, it's definitely going to differ, you know, for multiple players out here. But let's just see where we get with N'Keal Harry. Let's see if we can find him quickly. We got 11 pages, so maybe this was not a good decision because he's not very, very high on this list. And that could go from just him not playing a lot of snaps. We'll just kind of get his overall numbers here if we can bring him up quickly. And maybe we cannot bring him up quickly, so maybe we will have to dump this. But still scrolling. N'Keal Harry, where art thou? All right, we'll do one more page. We get Zach Poshko for the Colts at 31 receiving yards. So he's got less than 31. That's not the greatest. But once again, maybe he just didn't play that much, but we'll see. Or maybe, yeah, just didn't play that much. Okay. Well, we're at kind of at 16 receiving yards. So either I missed him or he's got less than 16. But either way, folks, he got it done in preseason and, you know, is now on the final 53-man roster. And Bill Belichick had this to say. So Bill Belichick on N'Keal Harry says, quote, "I thought N'Keal had a good camp. I'm glad we'll have him. I think he'll make a big contribution to our team." So when we just kind of look at just kind of where N'Keal Harry is in the depth chart here of the Patriots, it is a little bit lower just because they did go out and make a lot of purchases, a lot of acquisitions in the offseason at their wide receiver market. So they got Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne and then N'Keal Harry. So N'Keal Harry is kind of still going into this team as kind of the 4th string wide receiver out here. And we'll see if he can kind of compete with these other kind of top three, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne. So we'll see how N'Keal Harry can fit into this offense, but Bill Belichick says, hey, I think he's going to have a big contribution to our team. So we'll see if Mac Jones can get him the ball. And then Bill Belichick also said this. Belichick said he never spoke with Harry's agent who made a public trade request, and then went on to say this, quote, I think we have a good player-coach relationship. So seems all to be fixed here with N'Keal Harry and the Patriots. A little bit of a stunt in the beginning of training camp, and it is all resolved in N'Keal Harry, the wide receiver for the Patriots, will make the final roster. So Cam Newton gone. Stephon Gilmore not going to be playing that many games this year, and N'Keal Harry, he will make the final 53-man roster. So that's all the updates on what is going on with the Patriots, folks. So now let's move on to another team right here, and let's start talking about the Saints, because now they have officially named the starter. We heard rumors and reports that it was Jameis Winston, and now they officially name Jameis Winston as a starter. So the Saints are indeed going with Jameis Winston, who we do believe is now the right decision after that last preseason game. You can't doubt what he did right there, that arm, that deep ball. We don't believe Taysom Hill has that same deep ball accuracy or just deep ball strength that Jameis Winston was throwing around in the last preseason game. So Jameis Winston went out and earned the starting job, and now it is officially official. Congratulations to Jameis Winston. And now that it is officially official, this is kind of what we were waiting for. What was Sean Payton saying about this quarterback competition? And it's nothing big. We just got two quick quotes right here. So Payton said Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback, and he had this quote to say, quote, both he and Taysom competed their tails off. And then he says, quote, this, we feel really good about that quarterback room. So Taysom Hill putting up a decent fight, not as good as a fight that we hoped he would have. A little bit disappointed in that regard, but Jameis Winston was kind of showing a lot of what he learned from Drew Brees. Some great passing ability, not turning over the ball, which was great by Jameis Winston, and just some great leadership. And we always saw him putting in the work in training camp and in the offseason. Videos emerging almost weekly of Jameis Winston getting in some great work and some great drills. So Jameis Winston put in the time. I believe so far of what we've been seeing, he has learned a good deal under Drew Brees, which is always great. I mean, what better quarterback to kind of learn from than Drew Brees? I don't know if there is one. Obviously Tom Brady, but he is always the exception. So, well done to Jameis Winston, and unfortunate for Taysom Hill. And we'll see, Taysom Hill should still have a decent, solid role in this offense. I, would still expect them to kind of use him as a tight end and as a pass catcher and some gadget plays at the quarterback position. So we'll still probably see Taysom Hill, but Jameis Winston is going to be the starting quarterback. And then before we move off of the Saints topic, we get this right here. Saints head coach Sean Payton told reporters that the team will be away from New Orleans through September as the city recovers from Hurricane Ida. This means that regular season week 1, Packers at Saints, will not be played in New Orleans. So it's going to be potentially played on a neutral field. So we'll have to keep that in mind when we're kind of betting the game come week 1, guessing and reacting to the spread. The Saints will not be home for week number 1 against the Packers. And being home against the Packers is exactly where you want to be, because it's mother-loving Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the field. So Saints are definitely going to be missing home, and we'll see if they can get quickly back into their stadium because of Hurricane Ida, just absolutely devastating New Orleans a little bit. How unfortunate. All right, so that's the Saints situation. Officially named Jameis Winston today. Now let's head over to the Texans. All this quarterback talk out here. Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, and now Deshaun Watson. So the Texans are prepared to go into the season with Deshaun Watson on the 53-man roster and would have him inactive every single week, which would cost Houston $10 million for not playing him. So The Texans are like, hey, we are going to get our value. This is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's still only 25. They are not going to lose him, and I do believe that he still has 5 years left on his contract, so they're not going to release him. They're not going to trade him for anything less than what they are truly asking for, which is 3 first-round draft picks and 2 second-round draft picks. So the Texans, they're going to keep Deshaun Watson on this team, not play him, and they'll just kind of eat that money against the salary cap by still having him on the roster. So they want to get what they want, what they are asking out of him. They are not going to settle for 70 cents on the dollar. They are not going to settle for a not good trade in their mind, and they will keep him and not play him. They do not care. If Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be in Houston, that's fine. We won't play you, but we are not letting you go for absolutely nothing. We will get great value because you are such a great quarterback, and we wish you would play for us, but if you're not going to play for us, we're not going to let you just willy-nilly go wherever you want for, nothing, for a second-round garbage pick. We're not going to do that. So Texans are still holding firm, and once again, this may just kind of seem like there is no suitors right now for Deshaun Watson, which is once again kind of tells us, which we already knew, that all those stories coming out of the Dolphins trading for him are all bunk and nonsense and like 2 months old. We knew that. So let's just read this tweet right here. This doesn't mean the Texans won't trade Watson. They are not trading him unless they can get the full maximum value they would have gotten back in February. There's something much bigger than football that needs clarity. His contract has 5 years left. They're fine with waiting. So, still young as heck and still putting up all the great numbers. That's why they are not going to let this man walk for absolutely nothing or pennies on the dollar. They will be fine just eating that $10 million by having him still be on the roster and going with Tyrod Taylor or maybe even Cam Newton. We'll see if they trade for him, but they are not just letting Deshaun Watson go. Alrighty. Let's move on here, and this is not good. Another not good thing in the league. Jeez Louise. Carson Wentz, Ryan Kelly, and Zach Pascal of the Colts were all close contacts with Colts staff member who tested positive for COVID-19. So now all 3 players are on kind of that COVID-19 list and are away from the team. They can return in 5 days if they test negative and remain asymptomatic. So kind of what Cam Newton just went through. Hey, you're out for 5 days. Now, why is this big? Well, it's big because Carson Wentz, this is supposed to be him kind of ramping up and seeing truly what this foot can do. So now he's not with the team. Is he still going to put in the work? Is he still going to test that foot? Or is he going to kind of play it a little bit safe because he doesn't want to do anything that kind of is maybe not what the team wants? Like, why did you push it this way when you should have been pushing it this way? So Carson Wentz is going to be away from the Colts team for 5 days, and we're going to, hopefully everything's good with the foot, which has kind of been the case so far. But Carson Wentz out here not being by team doctors, not being around the team organization to closely monitor that foot and making sure that he's not pushing it and not kind of putting himself in jeopardy of pushing it too much or just kind of pushing it wrong or doing something wrong. So not great here for Carson Wentz when this was supposed to be the tell-all week. If he was ready to go by week 1, if he would have been ready to go by week 1, it would have been seen here this week. And it's also not good for Zach Pascal because we need him to get all the reps he can with the ones now that we know T.Y. Hilton is going to be out for a couple of potential months, definitely missing a couple of games, a handful of games at the minimum. So we need Zach Pascal to go kind of from this number 3 wide receiver, elevate himself up to a number 2 wide receiver, and him being away from the team and away from Carson Wentz and all the starters and all the reps, it's going to hurt this Colts team. So geez Louise, this Colts team cannot buy a break. I think, has this Colts team faced the most adversity in the kind of preseason training camp portion of the NFL season? I would say, yeah. I don't think any other team has had this many unfortunate circumstances surrounding the team. So hopefully Carson Wentz is progressing well. We'll have to wait for 5 days, and then they'll have to kind of ramp it up a little bit quicker to see if he's ready to go by week 1. So Carson Wentz, Ryan Kelly on the offensive line, and Zach Pascal all going to be missing 5 days. Not great here by the Colts. Gosh dang. All right, let's move on. Excuse me. Let's move on to this next story up here. We got, this is real interesting. Not a lot of information on it, but here we go. Cardinals quarterback, new quarterback here for the Cardinals, cornerback Malcolm Butler considering retirement due to personal situation. Real interesting. We don't know what this personal situation is. Now, Malcolm Butler, obviously, a wild career in this league, starting for the Patriots and single-handedly winning them the Super Bowl, picking off Russell Wilson in the end zone, and then getting caught and not played by the Patriots in the other Super Bowl. Or not getting played by Bill Belichick in the other Super Bowl that he was in. And then they cut him. And then he goes to the Titans. And then it's just nothing great. And they cut him. And now he's with the Cardinals. So he's been this kind of big player. But he hasn't been like a consistent. I don't even know if he was ever kind of regarded as kind of like a top 5 or even a top 10 corner in this league. So he has this kind of great overall resume with a lot of achievements on it. But he's getting passed around a lot. So is that weighing into some of this personal decision? So real interesting with Malcolm Butler, and this isn't good for the Cardinals because I believe Malcolm Butler is their starting quarterback or cornerback. No, I mean they just lost Patrick Peterson. They try to bring in Malcolm Butler to kind of shore it up a little bit, and now he may be retiring. So this Cardinals defense could be not the greatest going into this season. They may have to have, they may have a spot to fill very, very quickly. We get Malcolm Butler, their starting right cornerback, and then we get Brian Murphy Jr. as their left one. But then we get Robert Alford and Marco Wilson as their backup corners. Are they good? Are they serviceable? Can we believe in these backups if Malcolm Butler decides to retire? So let's quickly go to our favorite website, playerprofiler.com, and see if these backups, Marco Wilson and Robert Alford, are anything good at cornerback and reliable and productive and can just kind of take Malcolm Butler's place if he does decide to retire. So here we go. Let's start with Robert Alford. How good is this man? Never heard of him before, so we'll see. Not the best sign. So let's see what he was doing against the best wide receivers. Robert Alford. Here we go. He's only 5'10". Okay, 32. Game logs last season. He didn't even play in 2020. And we can't, there's nothing in 2019. Did he not even play in 2019? Did he not play in 2019 or 2020? That's not good. That's not something that we can rely on. Robert Alford, he's also listed as out, which is never not good, which is never good. So let's see what we get here by Robert Alford. Jeez Louise. All right, here we go. Robert Alford. He has not played in 2 years. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I don't know if he can even go this man. Folks, we've been talking about this recently. Hey, you can't be even 1 year removed. Jamar Chase, 1 year removed from football, can't even catch now. So Robert Alford, 2 years removed. Let's see what he was doing in 2018. All right, here we go. 2018, Robert Alford. Let's see what he was giving up in 2018. All right, against Devin Funchess of Carolina at the time. 5 of 8 for 64 yards. That's a burn. Against Michael Thomas of the Saints, 2 of 3 for only 15 yards, not bad. AJ Green of Cincinnati, 4 of 8 for 74 yards. And jeez, against AJ Green, that's what we're talking about. AJ Green still getting it done in 2018. Against Antonio Brown of the Steelers in 2018, 4 of 6 for 77 yards, getting burned. Oh my goodness, against OBJ, 7 of 7 for 230 yards allowed. Oh my God, big old burn, the biggest burn I've ever seen. Oh my God, against Mike Evans, 5 of 8 for 53 yards, not terrible. Against Michael Gallup of the Cowboys, 4 of 7 for 63 yards. Against Michael Thomas, round 2, 2 of 2 for 10 yards. Wow, he can lock up Michael Thomas, but he got absolutely obliterated by OBJ. Against Devonte Adams of the Packers, 6 of 7 for 70 yards. And against Mike Evans, round 3. against Mike Evans, round 2, Mike Evans. 6 of 7 for 114 yards. Jeez Louise, this man gets burned big time. So, yeah, you can't go with Robert Alford. No way. So, if Malcolm Butler retires, you cannot rock with Robert Alford. This man gets burned, and he's been 2 years removed from the league. All right, now who else do we get here? We get to Marco Wilson. Let's see if he's a little bit better. Hopefully he played in the last 2 years. Marco Wilson. Okay, here we go. He's 6 foot, 22, young gun out here. All righty. Is he a rookie? He's got nothing else. We can't even look up anything on this man. Okay, well, that's not great. So let's see what his overall career stats are. Marco Wilson. Let's get him up now since he's not on playerprofiler.com. Not good. That's never a good sign if you're not on that website. Jeez. Okay, here we go. Marco Wilson, he's a rookie, folks. He is a mother-loving rookie. 4th round pick in this year's draft. So you want a 4th round rookie as your starting corner. So this Cardinals team could be in big trouble. They've got no great corners if Malcolm Butler does decide to retire. So we'll keep an eye on this. They'll definitely have to kind of make a move in free agency if there's any good cornerbacks left. I mean, the Saints were kind of struggling to get one. So we'll see. I think they just released Prince Amukamara as well, so I think that's probably going to be your only shot, your only real option out there at cornerback this late in the game. So Malcolm Butler, he's still got to be in this league. No, we don't want to see this man leave. I mean, he's a Super Bowl hero. A Super Bowl hero. Never getting the true credit he truly deserves. Never playing up to kind of what that image of him saving the Patriots Super Bowl. Never truly living up to that high standard that he kind of set for himself. And that's kind of why he's been kind of getting passed around the league a little bit. Not kind of, like we said, never kind of praised in the top 5 corners, top 10 corners. Do I dare say never even praised in the top 15? I think so, folks. I don't know. He's never been that highly regarded as a cornerback. So we don't know what this personal situation is, and I am starting to wonder if him kind of getting treated disrespectfully for what he's done in this league, passed around, if that is kind of weighing on him a little bit. So the Cardinals truly need him, and we'll see if he decides to kind of decide to leave and retire and not play anymore. We'll see. All right. Next story up. Here we go. He makes a good point right here. This is true, but I don't see this being the case. But here we go. Lions quarterback Jared Goff says every year teams surprise and make the playoffs, so why not us? And that is true. Every year there is something that kind of shocks, nobody sees coming. Everybody kind of writes them off, but they kind of show up big time. And, we do get that. Last season, who was it last season? Who was it last season? The team that just kind of really made a big old splash that caught everybody by surprise. Maybe the Bucs of just how good they were. Yeah, they had Tom Brady, but did anybody really expect Super Bowl? So you could potentially say the Bucs. Who else? Was it maybe only the Bucs? The Bills being 13-3. Did anybody expect it to be that great? The Browns. No, it's got to be the Browns. The Browns going 11-5. That was kind of the big surprise last season of how just well the Browns did overall, truly making a name for themselves in the AFC, fighting for the kind of division all season long, and ending up with 11-5 record. So I would definitely say the Browns were the big team that made the splash last season that really not a lot of people expected to. So yeah, the Lions could be it this season. We're expecting it to be the Giants. We're still kind of believing that it is going to be the Giants. So that's kind of our take, but Jared Goff is right. Why can it not be us? So let's see what he's saying here in this quote. What is he truly believing in? What is he buying into that maybe nobody else is buying into? Is he buying into Dan Campbell? We'll see. So here we go. Let's read this article. Here we go. Most prognostications suggest the Detroit Lions will struggle in 2021, and we do agree with all those. With a full-on rebuild behind new general manager Brad Holmes and coach Dan Campbell, Detroit is starting at a fourth straight losing season and could be vying for the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. There are question marks across the roster that Holmes and Campbell stripped after the last administration failed miserably. Given the 6-year contract given to Dan Campbell, they gave that man 6 years. Jeez Louise. Man, they are... Oh, man, I can't believe they did that. I truly cannot believe they did that. All right, so given the 6-year contract given to Campbell, longer than most for a first-time coach, yeah, absolutely, Lions ownership is aware that it wouldn't be a quick fix. Just don't ask starting quarterback Jared Goff about low expectations, says, quote, what people think externally couldn't care less and honestly don't really know what it would be. Hopefully, if there is something to surprise, we will do that. But every day is a new day and we're just trying to win. So Jared Goff, good mindset, but he's got a lot to prove. He's got, that flame under him of getting tossed aside by Sean McVay. But let's keep going here. Frankly, Goff is part of those low expectations after his former team in LA paid an extra first rounder just to shed his contract. The former number 1 overall pick has been a part of a winning club each of its past 4 seasons, but his struggles the past 2 years have caused him to lose some shine. Still, his optimism is understandable with the question marks surrounding him on offense, where the receiver core is the worst in the NFL. It's unclear that Goff can raise the level of play of those around him enough to help limp the Lions to many victories, and that is, the case right there. Jared Goff, we don't kind of regard him as kind of an A1 tier 1 quarterback that can kind of lead you to a Super Bowl and lead up tier 2 players to tier 1 status. We kind of have Jared Goff at kind of tier 2, and tier 2 quarterbacks don't really raise up the level of play around them. So, the Lions don't really have anything good anywhere around them, and, Jared Goff is not the person to raise not great players into great players. However, professional athletes never say die, and you can't as a professional athlete. So once again, the classic boilerplate answers, yes, you do say that, but we read into it what you're saying, when you're saying it, how you're saying it, and we truly kind of... If you can sell us, that's a great thing. But so far, Jared Goff is not selling us. So let's see if he can start to sell us a little bit more. All right, they can't. They shouldn't. If a player walks onto the field admitting that there is no chance to win, losses become a certainty. For players who have made it to the pinnacle of the sport, only positive vibes are possible. Goff noted that each year teams go from worst to first in their division, so why not Detroit? Well, it's not every year. Some years are surprises. I mean, even the Browns didn't go first to worst. They went worst to third. I mean, that division is still hard to freaking play in. In this Lions division, Jared Goff is going up against the Vikings, the Bears, and the Packers. So, Packers are definitely tough. Bears could be tough. Vikings, we still don't freaking know. But, the Lions are definitely going to have their work cut out for them. So, quote here by Jared Goff. Quote, of course, it's a new regime, a new staff. The Lions weren't very good last year. I mean, it's a whole new thing, and I understand it. But just like every other team in this league, there are expectations. I don't know what that stat is, but every year there's new teams in the playoffs. Every year there's teams in the playoffs last year that aren't. Why not us? Why can't we be the one that wasn't in last year that is this year? It starts 1 week at a time, but internally our expectations are as high as anyone else, and that is good. Dan Campbell having high expectations set in this locker room is probably the only good thing that Dan Campbell has done this entire offseason as preparing for the new head coach role for this Lions team. Having high expectations, you need high expectations. I don't want any low bar expectations. I don't want, Dan Campbell coming in and being like, well, guys, I've got 6 years here. We're going to take it slowly but surely. So we're expecting not big things this season. He says, fuck that. Why not us? And Jared Goff is kind of buying into that as well. So for that, that's a pretty good locker room culture so far in this one little regard. So we can get behind Dan Campbell, maybe a small percentage point. I don't even know a full percentage point, maybe a fraction, but it's not bad going into this season. All right, last paragraph here. Let's finish it off. Playing for a franchise that finished last in the NFC North each of the last 3 seasons under Matt Patricia, it won't be easy for the Lions to dig themselves past Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago to win their division. Sure, as Goff noted, team surprise every year. Still, it would be truly stunning if the Lions were that team in 2021, given the state of the rebuild with the new brass. And that is, the rebuild and then Penei Sewell getting absolutely burned and destroyed in preseason is never a good look, so your offensive line's not even going to be good. So Jared Goff's got the right attitude. I don't know if he truly sold us on what he was saying, and, why not us? But, we already have kind of our surprise team, and it's going to be the Giants. Is that the only surprise team that we're kind of seeing? Are we calling the Colts a surprise team? I'm not. They went 11-5 last year. They're quarterback plug and play. Dolphins, are we calling them a surprise team? They went 10-6. We do expect, more than 10 wins this season. The Raiders, that's another potential big buy into. We could see the Raiders. Honestly, the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos, they could all have real great seasons. Raiders last year 8-8, Chargers 7-9, and Broncos 5-11. So if we're talking about teams that didn't make the playoffs last season that are going to make the playoffs this season, I'm putting the Raiders, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Giants all above the Lions. So yes, there are teams every year, Jared Goff, but so far you're kind of like 6 on that list of teams that could potentially do it. So not very great tier by Jared Goff, but he believes in himself. So a lot to prove, a lot of kind of chips on people's shoulders here in Detroit, and we'll see if they go out and get it done this year. So we'll keep an eye on it. Alrighty, now some more not good news on what's going around the league. So we just saw that Kyle Shanahan has this kind of potential dual quarterback offense that he's going to be working with. He's saying Trey Lance is definitely going to be playing this season, and we will split time, as much as I want. He's got no problem doing so. But this is going to hinder it a little bit right here. 49ers rookie quarterback Trey Lance suffered a, quote, small chip on his finger after jamming it into an opponent's helmet on Sunday. He'll be out a week, folks. So Trey Lance is going to be out 1 full week, but there's 2 weeks before the start of the season. So Trey Lance still can get back in time. We know he's not going to be like the main starter, but he is still going to get action out there. So this isn't that big. It's just something to note. Hopefully it doesn't turn into anything big. Now we have to start truly listening to the little details that are coming out, because some small things, there's things that never even were talked about, are blowing up into big things. We're having Malcolm Butler may not even play this year, may retire. What the hell's going on with that? And that's something that we haven't even heard of. It's something that just exploded onto the scene and could hurt the overall team. We heard about Stephon Gilmore. That was something real small at the beginning of training camp. Now he's going to be missing the first 6 weeks at minimum. And then T.Y. Hilton, once again, we knew he was out and wasn't playing because he was recovering a little bit from the neck, but we didn't think it would hold him out for any time at all, and now here we are missing potentially the first 5 games of the season. So hopefully this Trey Lance thing doesn't blossom into anything big, but he does have a small chip on his finger. Hopefully he's back in time, but definitely going to be missed this week, but should be back in time to split carries with Jimmy Garoppolo come week 1. Alrighty, and so all the quarterback competitions have wrapped up, folks. Mac Jones is now the starter. Jameis Winston officially announced. Ryan Fitzpatrick officially announced. Gardner Minshew traded away, so obviously Trevor Lawrence. So now the only kind of quarterback story that we're interested in is Matt Nagy changing his gosh dang mind, because there's no reason to start Andy Dalton. It's like literally you had Bill Belichick go off of Cam Newton for Mac Jones. That's the same circumstance that is in Chicago. You've got Andy Dalton. Compare him to Cam Newton. Has, had decent success in this league. Obviously, Cam Newton a little bit more because Cam Newton was actually able to win a couple of playoff games. Andy Dalton wasn't. But there's still two kind of average, slightly above average quarterbacks in this league. You can put Cam Newton a little bit more, slightly above average than Andy Dalton. But you have these two quarterbacks that have gotten it done in this league, be named the starters. Both teams draft rookie quarterbacks to push the starters and to one day take over the reins. Justin Fields and Mac Jones were looking pretty both gosh dang good in preseason. All three preseason games for both Mac Jones and Justin Fields were looking pretty gosh dang good. I think we were all watching those games and being like, yeah, that's a starter in the league. They can definitely start in this league. And the Patriots were like, you know what? We are going to make the switch. We said Cam Newton was a starter. Bill Belichick was saying Cam Newton was a starter right from day one. Same thing with Matt Nagy. But at the end of the day, Bill Belichick came to his senses and swapped out, cut Cam Newton, starts Mac Jones. So now, Matt Nagy, hey, you have a get-out-of-jail-free card. You could just be like, well, I was just doing the same thing Bill Belichick was doing. Yeah, Bill Belichick also said Cam Newton was a starter. I know I said Andy Dalton was a starter, but Bill Belichick said it too. So if Bill Belichick's going to kind of go back on his word, well, I can do. Because if Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, can do that, why not little old me, Matt Nagy, that's on the hot seat? I got to do everything. So I'm going to mirror what Bill Belichick is doing. So Matt Nagy, come to your senses, please. It's Justin Fields. He's the starter. He's the only option. There's no reason to go with Andy Dalton, just like there was no reason to go with Cam Newton. You know what they're going to do. They're going to be a little bit lackluster for what this team is compared to their status overall. You got to go with Justin Fields. Now, we can read this meaningless stat. I don't believe in the stat at all. I give this stat no credit, but it points to Justin Fields, so I guess I will say it. So here we go. According to PFF, Justin Fields has a passer rating of 111.6 when under pressure this preseason, which is first among all rookie quarterbacks. What more do you need? What more do you need? I hate that passer rating number. I pay zero attention to it. It has zero influence over any of my takes, any of my decisions. I don't factor that in at all. But it favors Justin Fields. So maybe I should start looking into it. Maybe I'm wrong for not looking at passer rating. Justin Fields is the best quarterback in the league, folks. How is he not the starter? Get this man done, folks. Matt Nagy, get this man the starting role. What are you waiting for? You have a get-out-of-jail-free card. Yes, Andy Dalton's going to be pissed. Andy Dalton is going to throw a little bit of an attitude, honestly. Matt Nagy's like, all right, I'm sorry, you can't be the starting quarterback. Andy Dalton is not going to take it easy, but Matt Nagy, you've got your get out of jail free card. Be like, hey, Andy Dalton, no, you can't be mad at me. You can't be mad at me. I'm going to keep you on the roster. I'm not going to cut you like Bill Belichick did. I'm not going to cut you like Cam Newton. You're going to stay on the roster, but you're not going to start. I'm sorry. So, Matt Nagy, use that to your advantage. You need to win this season. Do you not understand? You cannot get out of the gate slow. You cannot, regret the decision because Andy Dalton, over the first 8 games, got you to a 3-5 record. And you can't have, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. You got to just go with Justin Fields. Live and die by this decision, Matt Nagy. Live and die by this decision. Also, you may be able to buy yourself one more season if it doesn't work out this season. If Matt Nagy starts Andy Dalton this season, they don't make the playoffs, Matt Nagy's gone. You got to move off of him. But if Matt Nagy starts Justin Fields from week 1, they have an all right season. Maybe they win like 6 or 7 games. Matt Nagy can be like, I'm just getting started. We finally found our quarterback. He had some solid success this season. We can build upon it. Matt Nagy may be able to buy himself one more year next season. Be like, hey, I can improve. I can get it better. We had 7 wins first season. I can bump that up to 12, no problem. And the general manager and owner could be like, yeah, let's give him one more year because Justin Fields was a rookie. He was a rookie. So there's literally zero, nothing, goose egg reason why you start Andy Dalton. It all makes sense for Justin Fields. So this is the last quarterback competition decision, whatever you want to call it, that needs to be made. Matt Nagy, think clearly and make the right decision. Our reputation is on the line. The ball is in your hands. Make the right choice. All right, a couple more stories to go over to quickly, just kind of keeping up to date on all these roster cuts. Is this surprising? Not surprising. Steelers, Dwayne Haskins is going to make the final 53-man roster. Now, he's still not good, folks. He floundered in preseason game number 3 when, that was his opportunity to get it done. He was the only quarterback starting, right out of the gate, but he floundered big time, couldn't really move the ball, couldn't really score. So Dwayne Haskins hasn't really proved anything, but they are still going to keep the man on the roster, and, we'll see if he can kind of get better and learn under Big Ben through the season. We don't think that's going to happen, but he's going to be on the roster. All right, and then we get this. Saints released running back Devonte Freeman. So we kind of saw that him bring him in earlier this training camp, but they end up releasing him. So another decent running back out in the market, folks. Devonte Freeman, it was okay. That wouldn't be my first choice. I do still take Lamar Miller and Alford Morris and Le'Veon Bell and Adrian Peterson over Devonte Freeman, but he is another solid rusher in this league. So if your team needs a running back, there are still some good, solid choices, productive choices in the market. So the Saints released Devonte Freeman. We get this, which was definitely deserved. The Cowboys are waiving quarterback Ben DiNucci. I mean, how many opportunities was this man given? I think they lost every single preseason game, the Cowboys, because Ben DiNucci was just absolutely awful. He was the only quarterback really playing for this Cowboys team, or, always starting and playing the majority of the roles and the reps and all that and the plays. And Ben DiNucci throwing multiple picks. I mean, we talked about it all the time, folks. I mean, Mike McCarthy, we praised Mike McCarthy for how he was handling Ben DiNucci on the sideline after throwing pick after pick after pick after pick. But at some point, you just got to cut the man. Ben DiNucci is not working for this Cowboys team. So they are waiving Ben DiNucci, folks. Cowboys are. Can't wait to see that on Hard Knocks. It's going to be great. And that is the last story to talk about. Ben DiNucci is gone, which is definitely the right decision. Dwayne Haskins should have been gone too, but they need a little bit of depth there. All right, so those are all the stories that we needed to talk about for today. So let's head over to our 2021 NFL training camp narratives to watch for that we came up with right before the start of training camp. What did we want to see from the teams? What were we trying to watch as training camp progressed, as all preseason games progressed? What were we watching for? And did the teams live up to what we were watching for, what we wanted to see? So now that kind of training camp is basically over. All preseason games are wrapped up. We're about 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL season, regular season. Let's revisit our training camp narratives and see if we are big on any team. Are we going to be able to buy some more teams because they kind of, did everything that we wanted them to do? We were able to get to see some great things. Or are we going to start selling some teams because they just didn't kind of live up to what we wanted to see from this team, from these teams in training camp? So let's get to all of our narratives. We did narratives for every single team, folks. So let's start here with these 3. These were the ones that started their training camp a little bit earlier, a couple of days earlier. So let's start here. All righty, here we go. Bucks. Our training camp narratives for this Bucks team in the training camp were: how does Tom Brady look after surgery? Well, he's looking absolutely fantastic, folks. He played a couple of reps, a couple of drives in preseason, not too many, but every single one that we just saw, including the one from this last preseason game number 3, Tom Brady is looking already fantastic. All the receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, are all ready to rock. They're all on the same page, and they're all looking fantastic. So Tom Brady's looking fantastic after surgery, potentially the best quarterback in the league this year, and he may be having one of his best seasons in recent history just because he is 100% healthy now. So, man, oh man, Tom Brady's looking fantastic. The other narrative that we wanted to watch, we wanted them to spice up their offense and defense, so it wasn't the same as last year. Now, we don't really know too much information on that. All we know is that whatever they were doing, it was working. So they were still kind of fooling teams in preseason with their starters, with Tom Brady out there in the starting lineup. So we'll know more about that one as the season progresses, the regular season, to see if their offense is looking a little bit different than it was last season. But overall, Tom Brady's going to do what needs to be done to win offensively. So this Bucs team, we have nothing to worry about. They're going to be absolutely monsters, and you really kind of have to regard this Bucs team as the favorites to win it all this year. Brady's back. All 22 starters are back offensively, defensively. Bruce Arians is a great head coach. Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. There's great minds everywhere. And you have a healthy Tom Brady who, keeps saying any chance he has to bring it up, he will be like, yeah, I wasn't 100% healthy last season. I'm 100% healthy now. So you better watch out. Teams, defenses must prepare so many hours. You better use that week up to the Bucs game that you have on your schedule. You must study the film in practice 24/7 for those 7 days to get ready, because that's what it's going to take to try and maybe potentially compete against this absolutely fantastic Bucs team. So nothing to worry about here with the Bucs, and Tom Brady has won us over, and obviously we are big believers in this Bucs team come this year. Alrighty, now let's talk about the Cowboys. What were our training camp narratives? Alright, here we go. We said Mike McCarthy, can he coach? Dan Quinn, can he coach? Can Zeke get back to prime form? And we wanted to keep a big eye on Seme Fayoko. So let's break this down. Mike McCarthy, can he coach? Well, we've been watching a lot of Hard Knocks and seeing all this. Now, we're not 100% buying into Mike McCarthy, but there were some good things that we saw from Mike McCarthy in Hard Knocks. There were also some not good things. We liked just how he was kind of, coaching up Ben DiNucci on the sideline when he was throwing interceptions. That was kind of the only good thing that we saw out of Mike McCarthy, honestly. His locker room speeches fell short most of the time, but once again, there are locker room speeches. It's not a movie. You're not going to see everybody kind of fist bump, like pumping and banging on their chest and banging on the table. This is not a sports movie, so we weren't going to hold Mike McCarthy too much on that. The mojo moment was a good idea thought of by Mike McCarthy. We just didn't like the overall execution, where it became a lot sillier than we really wanted it to be, because there is a huge mojo in the game. Like, that's what we loved about Mike McCarthy, just that overall the overall premise of the mojo moment, which was, hey, in some games, there's just a moment in the game. You can feel it, where if we make this one play, whether it's like a third down stop, or, knocking them out of field goal range, a first down play that sets the tone for the rest of the drive, whatever it is, players know it on the field. And if you go out and execute it, you're pretty much going to win the game, just because you're bringing in that momentum. You're shifting the way the game is going because you capitalize on that mojo moment. So we did like the premise of it, just the execution, like we said. So Mike McCarthy, he did kind of win us over do we even say that? Because now the other thing that we were talking about with Mike McCarthy was that he didn't even want Dak out there practicing when he was healthy. This was before the shoulder injury. And then Jerry Jones kind of comes out in the field and is like, hey, why is Dak not doing anything? So we kind of saw that Mike McCarthy didn't have true total control over this team and decisions. Jerry Jones is still kind of, putting his nose into everything out on the field. So Mike McCarthy, we still don't buy him 100% or anywhere close to 100%. But, some small glimpses that we did like from Mike McCarthy. But like we said, there were some good, not good things as well. So Mike McCarthy, can he coach? He can. Well, still remains to be a little bit seen. All right, now the next narrative. Dan Quinn, can he coach? Defensive coordinator now. Well, they lost every single preseason game, so make of that what you will. We can quickly go into, let's see where this Dallas team defense ranked overall defensively. So let's see what we get here. Let's go to the preseason team defense. Was this Cowboys defense good? Because we barely saw anything of Dan Quinn on Hard Knocks. The man wasn't in the booth for the last Hard Knocks episode, the last preseason game. So we didn't really see anything like that. But we do know that they lost, I believe, all 4 preseason games, which is unfortunate. So maybe the defense isn't that great. So let's see what this team defense. How can we look up defense? Defense right here. Okay. Let's see where this defense ranked of the Cowboys in the preseason. So here we go. Cowboys defense ranked. Here we go. Very, very low here. Let's see what some good stats are. Okay, let's go. Interceptions. This Cowboys team, the most a team had was 5. This Cowboys team had 1. Okay, not great. Touchdowns, only, well, the good ones, or no, hang on, that's my bad. That's not what that means. What else can we get here? I kind of want to just, they don't tell us yards given up, like yards allowed. Interesting. We can't look up yards allowed on the defense. What the hell is this? All right, so I guess this isn't a great indication of team defenses. All right, let's see how many sacks. Houston had 11. We had Denver at 12, which seemed to be the highest. And the Cowboys had 6 sacks. Okay. So overall, nothing too great here. I wish we had overall scores. Is there points total? I guess we can go totals. Let's see what these totals are. Let's go to opponent. Okay, this is going to give us a better read on if this Dallas Cowboys defense is good or not. Here we go. All right, Cowboys. Once again, ranking not the best out of here. So here we go. Yards allowed. Total yards allowed by this Cowboys defense. Number 1 was Tennessee. Only gave up 597 total yards. That's absolutely fantastic through 3 preseason games. Now, the Cowboys, they did play 4, so their numbers are going to be a little bit skewed for the worse because there's an extra game. But the Cowboys gave up 1,200 total yards, which is very, very bottom of the pack, like bottom 20-ish right here. They're kind of ranked, so that's not great. They gave up 1,200 total yards. Yards per game will give us a little bit of a better indication just because they did play 4. So Tennessee gave up 200 yards a game, which once again is kind of, the best, the highest ranked. And the Cowboys gave up 311 yards per game. So if you take away 300 yards away from the Cowboys, they would still be at 900, which is still the same spot that they were in. So this Cowboys defense still was not that great. They gave up 800 passing yards. The best was 400. Rushing yards, Tennessee only gave up 200 rushing yards. That was the best. And the Cowboys gave up 422. All right, points. The Tennessee Titans only gave up 33 points. That's real good. Denver gave up 21 points. That's fantastic. And Baltimore only gave up 20 points. Let's see what the Dallas team gave up. They gave up 89 points. 89 points. Is that the most? Philly gave up 90. Philly gave up 90 points. So Dan Quinn, not great by this defense. And I know it's preseason and it's not all the starters. Folks, I get it. But still, you need to coach up these players. Why can Baltimore's defensive coordinator only give up 20 points? That's real gosh dang good. So, Dan Quinn, this man is not good. We'll leave it at that. So Mike McCarthy, nothing great. Some good things. A lot more bad things overall than good things. Dan Quinn giving up basically the most yards or the most points allowed in preseason, so he can't coach. The next narrative, can Zeke get back to primetime form? Yes, sir. We loved what we were seeing from Zeke Elliott. Didn't play barely at all. I don't even think he did. Maybe a couple of drives, 1 or 2 in the preseason, but most of what we saw from Zeke was in Hard Knocks, and we were loving what we were seeing. He was slimming down. He was quick cutting. He was looking fantastic. So Zeke, looking great. And then keeping a big eye on Simi Fehoko. He did not do anything this preseason, which is truly unfortunate. Barely got any kind of reps, barely got any targets and catches, never got featured on Hard Knocks, truly unfortunate. And this man is just kind of, going into, the mix. I mean, he's just getting lost in the shuffle. So truly unfortunate there by Simi Fehoko. He was kind of our dark horse draft pick at the wide receiver position that we thought could really boom in this league. Unfortunately, not really getting those kind of starting reps, and that's because, the Cowboys are loaded on offense at the wide receiver position anyway. So for our Cowboys narratives, not the best buying into. We loved what we saw from Dak, but that's not, what we were watching for. We knew he was going to be great. But Mike McCarthy not selling us on coaching. Dan Quinn, that defense is going to be real suspect. And then Zeke looking great. Simi Fehoko, a little bit disappointing there. Alrighty, now let's talk about the Steelers. All right, our training camp narratives for the Steelers to watch was Najee Harris. Was he the real deal? Well, let's see what he did. He didn't play that many snaps, so, his yard, well, we're not even going to look him up, honestly, because it's going to take way too much time because he wasn't kind of rushing like that. I guess we can try to look him up a little bit right here. Very, very quickly. We can look up rushing stats. Can we look up Najee Harris quickly right here? Ramondre Stevenson led the league in preseason rushing yards at 216. Very, very well done to Ramondre Stevenson. Absolutely fantastic, and hopefully he can continue it up in the regular season, which we believe he can. All right, Najee Harris. Can we see this man very, very quickly? 6 pages of running backs. So if you don't find him on the first, maybe 3. And we'll move on. But, Najee Harris, here we go. All right, he only had 13 carries. Is that correct? 13 carries throughout 3 preseason games for 42 yards. Pretty solid. No touchdown, nothing like that. He had a couple of receiving yards as well. He had 14. Is that 14 receiving yards? Nope. That's just yards per game, 14. So, not the best out of here by Najee Harris, but, like we said, he wasn't really playing that much, only 14 rushes. So, not bad at about 3.2 yards a carry. Okay, a little bit of an average right there. So, Najee Harris, real deal, still can't really tell. Can the offensive line hold? Alrighty, now let's just kind of see team leaders. Was this Steelers team part of kind of the rushing leaders? Because that's going to kind of tell us a lot about that offensive line if it's going to be the real deal. So let's see where this kind of Steelers team overall ranked rushing wise in preseason. And this Steelers team is kind of middle/bottom of the pack, like mid-20s-ish. They had 390 rushing yards, where number 1 was 565. Lowest was Tampa Bay at only 98 rushing yards. So, Steelers at 390, not terrible overall. Rushing touchdowns. They had 22 rushing touchdowns. That's real good here. Number 1 seems to be 34. So that's real solid. 22. We see like a 7. Tampa Bay only had 7. New Orleans had 6. Lots in the 10s and 11s. So overall, not terrible by the offensive line. And let's also look up, can we look up stats? Can we look up sacks? Is this Steelers offensive line giving up a lot of sacks? So let's go to defense and let's look up opponent, and then we can extrapolate from that. Alrighty, so let's see where this Steelers team ranked in kind of sacks allowed. Alrighty, so here we go. Where are the Steelers at? Pittsburgh. Alrighty, they only allowed 4 sacks. That's absolutely fantastic. The teams that only allowed less than 4 was Denver with 3. Washington gave up 4. Baltimore gave up 4. Cincinnati only gave up 1. Rams gave up 4. Cleveland gave up 4. Colts gave up 4, and that was it. So Steelers protecting the quarterback, not giving that up, and some solid rushing yards overall. So yeah, the offensive line, can it hold? Pretty solid overall. Pretty good. So, yes. And that is Big Ben looking like prime Big Ben. Yes, we loved it. He only played in 1 preseason game, but he went and scored 2 touchdowns on like 3 total drives. Something baller like that. Looking fantastic. So, overall, Steelers kind of, hitting all of those marks, all of those narratives that we were looking for. Najee Harris, the real deal? Yeah, potentially. We loved what we saw. Can the offensive line hold? They only gave up 4 sacks. That's pretty gosh dang good. And is Big Ben looking like prime Big Ben? Yes, sir, absolutely. So Steelers hitting all those marks. Love that. We can buy into the Steelers team a little bit more heading into the season. Alrighty, now let's talk about this next four, the NFC West. Now let's talk about them. Here we go. Let's start here with the Seahawks. What were our training camp narratives for them? Can Shane Waldron get it done as the offensive coordinator? Well, let's see. Let's see where this Seahawks offense ranked overall. Let's do, we have to do passing and rushing separately. Well, let's see what team leaders. What are these team leaders? All right, so let's see where they ranked in passing and rushing. Offensive coordinator new here for this Seahawks team. We need to see them put up the points, put up the yards, all of that. So passing, they go by passing yards here. In Seattle was very, very low on this. Very low. They only had 510 passing yards. Very, very bottom. That's like bottom 5. Like bottom 5. Not great there. Do we have touchdowns? We have passing touchdowns already. Number 1 was like 7. 7 passing touchdowns. 3 teams had about 7 passing touchdowns. In Seattle only had 2. Ooh, not great there. Not great there. We can look at this. How many times were they sacked? Their quarterback sacked. They were sacked 6 times, which is kind of middle of the pack. That's about kind of average-ish right there at 6, so not great there. Alrighty. So that's not the greatest passing-wise. Now, Russell Wilson wasn't playing, so, we can factor that into it. So let's see if their rushing offense was a little bit better than their passing offense. Let's see where this rushing team ranked for Seattle. All right, Seattle's rushing offense, once again, bottom of the pack, like bottom 7. They only had 268 rushing yards. Number 1 was 565 rushing yards of San Francisco. Let's see how many rushing touchdowns they had. 1. That's real bad. And then, yeah, that's not good. So, and let's see first downs. Is this first downs? Yes, rushing first downs. Number 1 seems to be about 34. Let's see where Seattle was ranked there. Seattle had 16. That's not bad. That's kind of above average-ish of what we're kind of seeing. So, overall, the offense isn't moving too well out here. That's not the greatest. That's not really what we wanted to see. So, I guess we could have done this. Total offense. I guess that would have been the better thing to look at, no? All right, let's see where this Seahawks team ranked in total offense, because we know it wasn't anything great rushing or anything great passing. And this Seahawks is bottom 5 in total offense, folks. Yards, they only put up 729 yards, which is very, very low. Like we said, it's like bottom 5 in the league, folks. Number 1 was 1,173 with the Browns. So just nothing great. Let's see how many points they put up. Number 1 in points seems to be New England at 79. That's kind of interesting. Tennessee actually had 81. So in Seattle only put up 37. Real low out there. So, chalk it up as the offensive coordinator or chalk it up as just the backups. Obviously, this isn't the end-all be-all here. We're just kind of getting a general gauge. So not the greatest look out there by Seattle's offense. And then Jamal Adams, we wanted to see the year 2 leap. Well, they got him signed under contract. Didn't really see him play at all in defense, so that one is still up in the air. But he did get a contract done, so hopefully he plays a little bit more freer, a little bit more looser now that he is kind of under contract. So overall, Seahawks, still some question marks on them. The training camp did not really kind of make us true believers in Seattle. Alrighty, the Rams now. Well, our narratives were for the Rams. Who's stepping up at running back number 2? We were betting on Raymond Calais. Well, Raymond Calais got injured for the entire year, folks. So he's out. And that's kind of the biggest question mark still on this Rams team. Is their running back position. They just went and signed Sony Michel. Well, they traded for Sony Michel. So, Raymond Calais is truly out now. We were betting on him. That's no longer the case. Darrell Henderson. Nothing great. They barely played him, and, Sony Michel was with the Patriots. So we still don't really know who's going to be stepping up as running back number 2. We're just assuming it's going to be Sony Michel. Does Sean give and sign a running back veteran? He really didn't. We said it should be Adrian Peterson. So didn't really do what we wanted there. Didn't really sign a veteran running back out there. Was kind of forced into trading for one. And then our other narrative was keep a small eye on Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford did not play any preseason games. So, not anything really great here with the Rams. Running back was a question at the start of training camp, and it's still kind of a question mark going into the regular season. So not great by the Rams. Alrighty, now the Cardinals. How does A.J. Green look fitting into the offense? Well, let's quickly look. Did A.J. Green get... I don't even know if he played at all. Let's quickly take a look here. We can go to the Cardinals. Well, they didn't play against the Saints. They had their last preseason game canceled because of the hurricane. Unfortunate. Then their game against the Chiefs. We know that Kyler Murray didn't play, so whatever quarterback was throwing A.J. Green the ball, it's not Kyler Murray. But let's see, was A.J. Green playing at all in any of these preseason games? Here we go. Preseason game number 2 against the Chiefs. And we got to look at the Cardinals. And A.J. Green, he had 1 target, but no catches. That's not the greatest. All right, let's look at preseason game number 1 then. Hopefully you got something good there. And like we said, just maybe one series, one kind of play toward him, and it's not Kyler Murray throwing him the ball. So it's not going to, 100% change our minds on this Cardinals team. We are still kind of decent believers in them. We're just kind of, checking our narratives, folks. So, whatever smug remark y'all were going to make in the comments, relax. All right, here we go. Preseason 1 game, A.J. Green. He did not play. So... he only had 1 target, so really can't see if he's fitting into the offense. We have been hearing in training camp that he's been getting it done, that he is looking good. We've seen some clips of this man in training camp as well, just no game setting. Our other narratives were what happens to Larry Fitzgerald. Well, he seems content on retirement, so truly unfortunate. We're not going to get Larry Fitzgerald here one last ride. And how is Cliff Kingsbury running this team? Overall, I think they went 1-1 in their preseason games, only had 2. So, and once again, if we look them up in just kind of the overall complete stats, I guess we can, is this still offense? Let's see where this, Cardinals team ranked just offensively. We know they only played in 2 preseason games, so obviously their yards are going to be very skewed. But let's see what they were doing yards per game wise and compare that around to the other offenses. So they had 282 yards per game, which is still a little bit low right here. Still kind of, they are kind of middle of the pack right here. So still could have been a little bit better offensively. We know Cliff Kingsbury is trying to run the offense like that. So that is still kind of up in the air of Cliff Kingsbury if this man can get it done. And then Budda Baker, is he a top 5 corner? And once again, just overall, I don't think Budda Baker played at all in this preseason. We can quickly look at these defensive stats in preseason game number 1 for the Cardinals. Budda Baker not doing anything, not playing. And now let's go back to preseason game number 2. And let's see if Budda Baker played there. We know preseason game 3 was canceled. So here we go. Budda Baker, did he play in preseason game number 2? Alrighty, here we go. Defense of the Cardinals. We get DeAndre Baker, the wrong Baker. Budda Baker, nothing. So, not playing that much or not playing at all. Whatever the case, we can't really tell if Budda Baker is a top 5 corner. He's getting paid like a top 5 corner, and we'll see if he can kind of do it this season. So overall, how does A.J. Green look fitting into the offense? Well, in training camp, in the practices, he's looking good. Game scenarios, still a question mark. What happens to Larry Fitzgerald? The man is retired. And how is Cliff Kingsbury running the team? Seems good. No problems, no big concerns so far. But it's only 2 games, 2 preseason games. So still a little question mark on this Cardinals team. And the 49ers, Trey Lance, does he get the starting job? Well, no, not going to really get the starting job, but is going to play. And we just kind of saw the hybrid offense that Kyle Shanahan was running in preseason game number 3 for this 49ers team, and we kind of liked it. They were able to score touchdowns on both drives that they used Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance in multiple situations, goal line, red zone, 20s in the 20s, and, using both quarterbacks in both situations. So we kind of liked it, but he's not going to be like the starter, singled out starter. And can they stay healthy? Because we know Jimmy Garoppolo's always getting injured. Last season, a ton of injuries. And the 49ers, no real big concerning injuries to kind of worry about. Trey Lance, a little chip in his finger, nothing bad. And Jimmy Garoppolo is still healthy heading into week 1, so that's pretty good there too. So overall, the 49ers' health is, a solid part of the team overall. So those were the only narratives that we had for the 49ers. Alrighty. That is, I think that's where we are going to stop for today. Let's do this one. We'll do one more division here. We got the NFC South now. Let's go over their narratives since it's only 3 teams because we already did the Bucs. So we'll do this one and then we will be out of here. So here we go. All right, the Saints. What was our training camp narratives to watch for? Who wins the starting quarterback job? Well, now we know it's Jameis Winston, certified by Sean Payton himself, and we think that is the right decision after watching both those quarterbacks through the first 3 preseason games. Jameis Winston in the finale, oh my goodness, looking fantastic, or Taysom Hill in the finale still, struggling a little bit. So I do believe Sean Payton and the Saints made the right decision at the starting quarterback position. Who steps up as the true one leader? Because, we know Drew Brees was kind of the overall leader of this team, and we were looking for who was going to step up in that place, and we believe it's going to be Jameis. Now that he is a starter, I think he's going to kind of truly fill into that role. And it's not that he was waiting for himself to kind of be named the starter before he was a leader. We were seeing some great things on the sideline and all that in training camp and all that. So we think this man can kind of step in and not be as good as Drew Brees with the pre-game speeches. We still have to wait for Jameis Winston's kind of first pre-game speech after kind of the E to W and learning under Drew Brees and all that. So we feel confident Jameis Winston can be that one leader. And can Sean Payton coach? That's a narrative because we're like, hey, you're rocking with Drew Brees this entire time. Same thing with Bill Belichick. You only have real success with Tom Brady. How do you fare without him? We are kind of bringing that same narrative here to the Saints with Sean Payton. And it seems like, hey, he's making the right decision with Jameis Winston. So we give him credit there, not kind of forcing Taysom Hill into that spot just because he's been with the Saints a couple of seasons with, while Jameis Winston was only here for 1 year. So Sean Payton making a tough decision with naming Jameis Winston. Obviously, we'll know a little bit more this season whether Sean Payton can coach with the offense, and now Michael Thomas out for the first couple of weeks. So how can he kind of elevate the other wide receivers around him and put them in positions to win? So we still like what Sean Payton was doing. We believe, how many preseason games did they win? Did they win all of them? Or the only 2 that they played. So preseason game number 2, the Saints, they beat the Jaguars by 2. Perfect there, winning the game. And then preseason game number 1, they lose to the Ravens. So 1-1, not bad overall. All right, the Panthers. Can Sam Darnold play quarterback? Well, we still don't freaking know the answer to this. We're kind of leaning toward no because we didn't see a lot of great things out of Sam Darnold. He did play a couple of drives here in preseason, but some things that we noted while we were watching Sam Darnold is that kind of in key situations, kind of like 3rd and short or 4th and short or 4th and goal, 3rd and goal in the red zone from the 5-yard line, Matt Rule wasn't trusting Sam Darnold to throw the ball to get that touchdown, to pick up that short first down. They were heavily relying on the running game. So maybe Matt Rule isn't believing in Sam Darnold that much, so we're still question marks on that. We are kind of still leaning towards no, though. Christian McCaffrey, can he return to elite form? Well, we haven't been seeing him in preseason action, but we did hear from Albert Breer, who did his top 5 takeaways from the Panthers camp, that Christian McCaffrey is still looking absolutely great. So that first-hand anecdote from Albert Breer, Christian McCaffrey is going to be fine after coming off that injury. Our other narrative for the Panthers, Matt Rule, can he coach and does his offseason moves pay off? Well, we still don't know about Sam Darnold, and that's the biggest offseason move. So let's see what the Panthers did in their first couple of preseason games. We've also kind of been hearing that the Panthers are still kind of in the running or in the mix to get Deshaun Watson, which we think is a bad look on Matt Rule's part because you just kind of believed big time in Sam Darnold. But let's see what their overall wins and losses were. They lose preseason game number 1 to the Colts, 21-18. Close game, though, so we give the Panthers a little bit of credit there. They lose preseason game number 2 at home, 20-3 against the Ravens. And then preseason game number 3, the Panthers Where are they? Where are you, Panthers? They blew out the Steelers 34-9. So kind of up and down, getting better as the preseason progressed, but still a little bit of question marks on Sam Darnold and Matt Rule, and that's not great heading into the season. All right, and then the training camp narratives for the Falcons. How is Calvin Ridley adjusting to being an A1 Tier 1 wide receiver? We're loving what we're seeing out of Calvin Ridley. We can bring up his stats quickly here through the first couple of preseason games. I do believe he did play in the majority of these games. So let's see his overall production here. Let's start from preseason game number 3. Let's bring up this Falcons team quickly. Falcons against the Browns. Let's see if Calvin Ridley played in preseason game number 3 right here and what his production was. We've been seeing him in training camp and just kind of, some clips here and there of what he's doing in practice, and he's looking fantastic. We're not really worried about him at all. But let's see what he was doing in kind of game situations. He did not play in preseason game number 3. So I'm assuming he didn't play in any preseason games. If he didn't play in preseason game number 2, we really don't care what happened in preseason game number 1. We're not going to take like a one game sample size and critique you too much on that. So let's see what he did in preseason game number 2, if he played at all quickly. Preseason game number 2, Falcons lose against the Dolphins big time, 37-17. Nice 20-point blowout. But let's see if Calvin really got in the game at all and what he did. All right, so here we go. Receiving, Calvin Ridley did not play. So did not really play the entire preseason, but we don't have any doubts on Calvin Ridley. How is Arthur Smith adjusting to being a head coach? Well, we kind of know that they, lost preseason game number 2 kind of bigly. Overall, let's see where this Falcons overall offense ranked compared to everybody else. So here we go. We got the total offense here. Let's see, because we know kind of Arthur Smith, an offensive-minded head coach coming from the offensive coordinator from the Titans the last 2 seasons. So this Falcons team ranked second to last, folks. Overall, they only put up 630 yards total. 300 of those were passing yards, and they only put up how many rushing yards? They put up 384 rushing yards, which isn't bad. This seems to be decent, like middle of that seems to be good. And that's real good, actually. Having 384 rushing yards, which kind of is like top 5? Top 10, definitely. Maybe, hovering around kind of 6 or 7, but definitely top 10 in rushing, and that's real gosh dang good. Let's see points overall, and we'll tell you why that's good in a second. They put up 30 points total, real low right there. That's real low. Damn, that's real low. So overall, the offense wasn't a highlight, but the run game was pretty good, and we want to say that because we don't like any of their rushers. We're still looking for kind of the A1 Tier 1 rusher for this team, or just kind of the main rusher for this team. We're not really buying the starters here of Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. We're not buying into them. So Arthur Smith, is he adjusting to being a head coach? Still overall, the team still needs to be a little bit better. Didn't really get a true gauge of what he was looking like as a coach in preseason. But the fact that the rushing game was good tells a real good sign, because they don't have that good rusher, but they still made the rushing game work. Arthur Smith used to working with Derrick Henry, so the fact that the rushing game is still good here in Atlanta when it really shouldn't be, that's a real good sign for Matt Rule and the offense overall. So that's a huge takeaway here. And do the Falcons get a free agent running back? That was our last narrative to watch for, and they did not go out and do that. Let's bring up their running backs. I still think they are rocking with Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. We get Mike Davis and Quandre Olson. Alrighty, let's see if he can Quandre Olson better than Cordell Patterson. So we'll see what this man can do here this season. But they didn't go out and get a Lamar Miller or a Le'Veon Bell or an Adrian Peterson or a Frank Gore or anything like that. So Arthur Smith still sticking with his running back guns, and it seemed to pay off. Alrighty, that is going to do it for us today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We are back live tomorrow, noon Eastern, doing it all again, breaking down some more narratives and seeing if they all came to fruition like we wanted. So that is going to do it for us today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we are back tomorrow, folks. We're out.